I'm Jason UFC, and today we have a story about former UFC welterweight fighter Matt Brown praises Belal Muhammad as the biggest threat to the entire welterweight division. I think Belal Muhammad defeats Khamzat Chimaev, unquote. I like how he throws out Chimaev, who is just a contender, and Leon Edwards, who's the champion. What are we talking about? Leon Edwards currently reigns as the UFC welterweight champion, but he'll have plenty of challenges awaiting him in 2023. All signs are currently pointing to. Okay, I'm not gonna say that. Let's just move on from that one. Uh, did Matt Brown retire, or is he still in the welterweight? I thought he retired. I thought is Matt Brown still fighting? Wow, Matt Brown still sees Usman getting the upper hand in the rematch to reclaim the title. That said, Matt Brown believes there's even bigger threat looming on the horizon at 170 pounds, just waiting for the chance to face everyone in the division. If you want to talk about the biggest threat to, okay. I'm just going to say, if you want to talk about the biggest threat to the welterweight division, I'm going with Belal Muhammad. But Matt Brown said on the latest episode of The Fighter and the Writer, I don't know what that is. I think Belal Muhammad is probably the biggest threat of all these guys. I think Usman beats Leon Edwards, and the champ at the end of the year is either Belal Muhammad or Kamal Usman. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Let me see. Belal Muhammad has been making a steady climb up the welterweight ranks, going undefeated in his past 9 fights. Okay. His last victory was, I believe it was a TKO. Was it a KO or a TKO over formerly undefeated Sean Brady? But when I do have to preface it when we say that he's undefeated in his last 9 fights. He's currently on a 4-fight undefeated streak. He has a no contest. Belal Muhammad does versus Leon Edwards. That's about like 5 fights ago. But yeah, and then before that he was on a 4-fight win streak there. So Belal Muhammad recently faced Leon Edwards. Was that last year? I believe that was last year, maybe last year or 2 years ago. And I believe it was an eye poke. Leon Edwards poked him in the eye, something like that. And they went to a no contest or anything like that. So Leon Edwards didn't get a victory over Belal Muhammad or anything like that. It was a no contest, which is why he's undefeated over his last 9 fights. Belal Muhammad has been calling for matchups that would potentially earn him a title shot, including numerous call-outs to face Khamzat Chimaev, who many expect to become a UFC champion soon. As dangerous as Chimaev has been through his first 6 fights in the UFC, Matt Brown sees Belal Muhammad as the stylistic matchup that could give the Chechen wrestler Khamzat Chimaev his toughest possible matchup at 170 pounds, especially watching his Chimaev 3-round war with Gilbert Burns. Belal and Gilbert Burns are very similar body types, the way they throw punches and stuff, but Belal keeps a much higher pace and stays a little bit more disciplined in his approach. Brown said, I think Belal beats Khamzat, and I'm 50-50 on him beating Usman. I'm sorry. That's a really close fight, and I think goes to the decision. It's probably a really tough call for the judges. This is like the longest article of all time. Let me just get to a few more quotes, and then we're just gonna have to move on, man. I think Belal is the biggest threat to Usman. I don't think anyone is going to disagree that Usman is probably. Yeah. Okay. Let me see. Is there anything else? Because This is a long article. Any fight is winnable for Belal. Him fighting, man, everything is Usman. Let me see. He's not like Kobe Covington. Who's he? When he's keeping a high pace, I guess he's talking about Belal, but it's kind of soft punches and meaningless stuff that you can disregard and not really worry about. Kobe Covington will do so many different shots until he finally gets it, whereas Belal, he keeps a high pace workhorse. He's a truck. He's coming hard the whole time. I think he poses a threat for every single person in this division, and I want to see him fight Usman. Wow. So I did skip, almost 60% of this article. Just want to get into it. We'll see what holds for Belal Muhammad in 2023. The welterweight division it's kind of wide open. There's been recent reports that Leon Edwards is gonna face Kamaru Usman, but we had a recent sighting of Kamaru Usman, and I believe it's like still in a cast. That was like last weekend or something like that, maybe 2 weekends ago, where Kamaru Usman was seen. He was in a cast. We're in January, and the fight with Leon Edwards, the reason why everyone's making a big deal about it is because the UFC is having an event in the UK. Obviously, Leon Edwards wants to and will definitely be on that card. He does not currently have an opponent. Leon Edwards is the recently crowned undisputed welterweight champion after knocking out Kamaru Usman last year with a head kick knockout. So Leon Edwards is the champion from the UK by way of Jamaica. So he's obviously going to be on that card. That card is scheduled for March of this year. And if Kamaru Usman was recently, like I said, a week ago, maybe last weekend, cited in a cast, I cannot imagine. And listen, I don't know anything about the human body. I cannot imagine, unless he takes the cast off yesterday, I cannot imagine how he could be in a cast, this week, next week, and somehow schedule a 5-round fight, right? 2 months from now, right? March is not that far from now. We're not talking about April, May, or June, right? If we were talking about May or June, then it would seem likely. And like I said, the reason why it's kind of a hurry up rush is because it's an event. The UFC pay-per-view will be held in the UK. So Leon Edwards, he's going to do whatever he can to be on that card. Whoever the opponent is, he's going to take the fight. So he's not going to be looking to hold off and say, oh, no, I'll wait until, May or June, to fight, Kamaru Usman, who may be injured later months, and miss the card in the UK. So Leon Edwards will be on that card. Unfortunately, he's unscheduled with an opponent. So you would think, there's a lot of names for Leon Edwards, right? For Leon Edwards, you would say Belal Muhammad. You could say Khamzat Chimaev. You could say Kobe Covington. Those are 3 names right there that would be very easy, very reasonable ideas for a championship fight. There's one name. I'm not going to mention the name. Everyone knows who that person is. I just think with Belal Muhammad not losing a fight since 2019, I'm not really trying to name certain fighters who haven't won fights since like 2019, as potential opponents for some of these current UFC champions. I think it's kind of disgusting and it's sad because there's a lot of opponents for Leon Edwards instead of some of these other names that I'm not even going to mention them. But let me know your opinion of this story. We didn't mention Khamzat Chimaev too much end the story. We probably should end on that. Belal Muhammad versus Khamzat Chimaev. Why that fight hasn't been made yet, I have no idea. Neither fighter has an opponent. You know, Leon Edwards is waiting for an opponent. Kobe Covington is waiting for an opponent. Chimaev is waiting for an opponent. Belal Muhammad is waiting for an opponent. Dos Anjos, you know, the whole welterweight division, just like no one is scheduled to fight. I don't even know. I have no idea what's going on. You know, it's kind of crazy. Like, it's when you look at it now, like the top 10, you're like, almost none of them are scheduled to fight. What's going on with the welterweight division? It's who knows. But we're in a new year. Obviously, a lot more fights will be scheduled in the next few weeks. So keep your eyes open because there's a lot of fighters open and who are not booked for any fights at all. The UFC schedule, wouldn't say it's kind of light right now, but I mean, they've had a few, you know, the UFC pay-per-view in Vegas doesn't have a main event. The UFC pay-per-view in London doesn't have a main event. So there's some spaces that in the next 2 months we're going to get some big names, right? Maybe John Jones, Ngannou, Stipe. There's a lot of names. Conor McGregor's on that list. Max Holloway, I believe he's on that list. Tony Ferguson. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of names that in the next few months we're going to get some names of fighters who are going to book some of their fights. And hopefully a lot of those fights are in the welterweight division because it's wide open and there are a lot of opportunities and contenders. I'm Jason, UFC. Today we had a story. I don't know, is Matt Brown retired or not? I thought he retired. I said former UFC. I'm just going to say UFC welterweight fighter Matt Brown praises Belal Muhammad as the biggest threat to the entire welterweight division. Matt Brown thinks Belal Muhammad beats Khamzat Chimaev. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button, and please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.